Everybody, welcome back. I'm Abby Hagyard. Cheers. It's snowing outside. Give me a second. Oh, such a good idea. All right, here we are. So there's so much stuff going on right now, all over the place. And what I always look for when there is, it just seems to be an onslaught of similar, the same, the same, the same, the same. And what I start to look for is different, different, different. And the reason I do that is because, well, it's an interesting conversation. And that's why we're here. So, the title, the theme for today is today, today is the last day of winter. Tomorrow it's spring in this part of the world. And then outside my window, it's snowing because, of course, the groundhog may have fibbed or not. Who knows? Anyway, we're getting some weather. We're going to get more of it tomorrow. We're going to get more of it the next day, apparently. And so I said to myself, okay, so you know what? Good morning, Maggie. Good morning. Oh, I have stuff to tell you. I have stuff to tell you later. So I decided to myself, on St. Patrick's Day, I did it. I dressed like a disco druid. I wore the only green thing I own. And now I am back in the colors of my people. I am back in neon orange with a side order of hot pink and little lime green on the side. So there. You can take the girl out of you. Can't do that on television, but you can't do that out of the girl. You know it. So the big thing that is going on that we easily get blindsided by is the ongoing, nonstop newsfeed, which was the inevitable outcome way back in the day of Ted Turner saying, cable news network, all news all the time. And he felt that was something that the modern world, with its, global population, global village, global economy, needed, was to know how everybody over there is doing now. Thing is, when you run out of relevant stuff, you still got all this empty air to fill. And believe you me, 30 seconds of nothing to say, it's a long time, especially when you have advertisers saying, well, we paid you, where's the stuff? So what people tend to do is they look for shortcuts. They look for shortcuts and ways to find how to just get your attention. Not keep it, not deliver something of value, but as long as you're looking at me, you're not looking at them, is the short conversation there. And so today I decided to say, you know what? I'm going to tell you what tomorrow is. Tomorrow is the first day of spring. Coincidentally, it is the first day of the Aries time of the year if you follow any of the horoscope. Why does that matter? Well, it's mine. And that means that when it begins in March, there's only 10 days until birthday month. And this is what I want to talk about. What, my birthday month? Why, thank you. No, I meant the concept of milestoning. And I'm going to tell you why. Because without anchor points, without benchmarks, check marks along the way, really quickly, it can feel like we took that wrong step down the side of a mountain covered in gravel. And the next thing you know, we have no traction. We have no purchase. We have no way of stopping the downhill slide or the sideways slide. One of the most gobsmacking moments, if you've ever been on a motorcycle, which only gives you two wheels and no protection, is to realize that you've lost traction on gravel. Because, your clever brain is saying, oh, Do you want me to tell you what's going to happen in a minute? No, I want us to focus on this, please. Let's keep us as straight and through as we can. So here's what is happening. What is happening is there is a fascination with the oncoming imminent train wreck. It is the nature of the human condition to be fascinated by impending, oh dear, God, what do we do? And that's kind of an offshoot of the survival mechanism, which is that looks dangerous, let's go the other way. Except that many animals, including us, tend to waste those first few all important seconds fixated on the size of the horrific. And then we say, gotta go. And my dad, my sainted dad, who had all of these truisms that he kept flinging at me when I was far too young to understand what he was saying, was that you need to stay on the balls of your feet. The ball of your foot is right behind your toes. It's this part of your foot. You need to stay on the balls of your feet all the time. And the reason is that the time it takes, if you have your weight on your heel, the time it takes to shift from there to here can be the time you needed to win. So why would we rest on our heels? Why would we rest on our laurels? Why would we rest on, this is what I looked like in my last show, and this is why I'm wondering why my hair is standing up. This fixation we have with pausing to stare at rather than process and move is often a function of overload. There's too much going on. We don't know what to do with it. So there's the new thing, and we stare at it for a minute until it sorts itself. And the trouble is, things don't change. They don't sort themselves. We sort things. We are the engine. We are the fuel. We are the driver. We the one behind the wheel. And the forgetting that when we have spent far too much time saying, I wonder what's on the other side, I realize I just picked it up upside down. You probably all went, oh God. You can be wondering what they're doing over there. You can be wondering what they're thinking about us over there. They're not. They're wondering why the 7-day diet didn't work. They're wondering why there was something wrong in putting whipped cream on top of that special Jell-O diet. But it just tasted flat without it. Mm-hmm. So this is what I do every year. I don't make a big, long list. I have all kinds of forms and platforms and concepts in order to orchestrate and organize times and details and priorities. What I do is I begin 10 days before, and I begin thinking about the milestones, the big win. What is the biggest win this past year? What is the biggest thing that has become the essence of my life since birthday month last year? Since I began annoying everybody on all the social media platforms with my little ram with a birthday hat. I know. What can I say? Sorry. Yeah, so the biggest milestone is sometimes the smallest thing, because the milestone isn't always the ta-da, the explosion, the fireworks, the outcome. The biggest milestone is choosing it. The biggest milestone saying, this is my moment right now. Let's do this. And then making the decision to own it, making the decision to take a look at it every day. I'm working, as some of you know, I'm working on this project, Pivotry in Motion. I've been working on it since 2018. It has kick-started into massive high gear since this time last year. An extraordinary thing happened last year, and I will delve into it as we get closer to the time. What I recognized in 2018 was that I knew a thing. I could see tangibly a thing that I used as a life skill, that I used as a navigating skill, that I used as a resetting skill every day from my earliest memory because of my background. My background has two qualities in it. One is transient, military child, only child, parents with issues and commitments, meant that no matter who pushed the button or pulled the plug or whatever metaphor you want, I was never in one place for very long. There is a description of that in terms of disorientation among people. How do you find your people? Find the people with the same things you got. That's basically it. And I discovered that my identity had been fractured, not in a negative way psychologically or mentally or emotionally or any of those things, but it had been fractured in ways that allowed me to adapt quickly, to assess quickly, to make logical conclusions, if this then that, quickly, and then find the part of me, the quality of me that could navigate that most efficiently. Now, it took a long time to say. I would do it in a blink once I got good at it. And I got good at it as I began to realize that I didn't know how long each transfer was going to be. And therefore, the more time I spent dithering, hither, dither, thither, the more time I spent dithering, the less time I had available to me to actually live in the time I had there. And so gradually, I perfected quicker capabilities of profiling what was going on. Profiling, not deciding when they will want a next sandwich, but predicting based on patterns of behavior. You did it once and you did it again after that. I'm not assuming that you want to do it again. I'm assuming that your brain has now got a trigger mechanism that's live. And so when you get the signal, it automatically goes there. It doesn't wait for the instruction. Turns out decades and decades and years later, I was right. Turns out it was something I assumed. Turns out science is proving it true. And what this does on the eve of Aries month, according to the people who say that the calendars have been thwarted and shift, Aries is the first month of the year, which makes sense if you spend a lot of time with my friends, the Pisces. They are old souls, and Aries are very little more than, hey, it's brand new, let's do this. So what I discovered and didn't really pay much attention to was this way that I cope with the world, with my place in the world, and how long do I have here before we go wherever. And then COVID hit. And it was the first time that I had been any place for a consecutive number of years, so that I had become familiar with local patterns of behavior. And I noticed something going terribly wrong. And it took a while. And then I realized that I am internally motivated. I am internally triggered more than I am externally triggered. I spend less time looking for external guides and navigators and Sherpas and validators than many people, because I have not really ever lived a life in which that was a luxury available for any particular period of time. And so therefore, the person who is with me all the time would be moi. And so it's moi that I have the conversation with. As a result, when all of the normals that we took as solid began to fracture and shred and shrivel and run during the uncertainties of COVID, I saw people panicking because their anchors weren't anchors anymore. They were floating free. They had no rudders. They had no anchors. They had no GPS. They had no coordinates. They had no compass. And I did. And I thought, well, it can't just be me. And that's when I started doing the research. What is happening now is a product of two things. One is everyone was so relieved that COVID was over. Nobody had bothered to take a look to see if that uncertainty over the span of 3 years had messed with our heads at all. We were all too concerned about whether we were okay, we were safe. We didn't know that maybe there might have been damage. We didn't know that uncertainty and isolation over prolonged periods of time is a lot like prison, where every decision is made for you. All of a sudden, the bells ring, the doors open, you're on your own. And a lot of us have forgotten how to do the everyday after 3 years, where somebody else is saying yes today, no tomorrow. We'd forgotten to have confidence in our intuition, in our instincts, in our gut. We'd forgotten to say, all right, how do we do this again? Most of us had gotten used to saying, you know what, it's okay. It doesn't matter, not that important. I'll just stay here. That's the survivor brain saying it was safe here for 3 years. Let's not mess with it. Human beings aren't merely survivors. We're thrivers. And it is never more clear during birthday month that I am one of them, because I am celebrating every day the fact that, by golly, I'm walking here. And the reason that's a big deal is the number of moments in which that was hanging in the balance. And this is what we all forget. We all forget the number of times we have arrived here when it wasn't clear that that was obvious. We go through a near miss and we take a minute and we tell everybody about it, and then it fades in the new news cycle. But we did have a near miss, and we were gifted a fresh chance. And how easily we forget it, right? So in that long, slow buildup, I want to talk to you about something that Maggie and I have discovered. My good friend Maggie lives down in Miami, and we have geography in common, and we have coincidence in common, and we have pop culture entertainment in common. And so it was inevitable that our paths would cross. And Maggie's specialty is technology. And Maggie's growing alarm and disbelief has been exponential in the last while. And when we connected and talked about there's got to be a better path, and we began to discuss it, and we realized that yes, there is, Virginia, there is a better path. And it has nothing to do with Santa. It has everything to do with thinking outside the box. And so we have spent a great deal of time doing that over the past few months. And what happened yesterday, one of the things that I'm going to share with you that Maggie and I can discuss later, is that I ran into a university professor. I live, my little nest in the world is spitting distance from one of Canada's oldest universities. And so several of the professors and students live in the building. And got on the elevator. Woman got on looking as though she has had it And thank God it's almost the end of the day. And I said, uh-oh, how's it going? And she said, I'm a teacher across the street. And I said, oh dear. And I said, and she said, if I had the energy to say anything other than AI, we'd be on this elevator for the next hour. And I smiled and I laughed and I commiserated. And what she is dealing with, what everyone is dealing with, that Maggie and I have been discussing, is that this transformation, this innovation, this tsunami of change has not come with instructions. And without the book of instructions, it's like 6 blind guys trying to assemble an elephant. They've all got parts that they don't know what to do with. And the outcomes are going to be fascinating, because if your focus is on what happens when I push this, without, oh, wait, what happens if I push this? Then we have all kinds of unintended outcomes awaiting us. What is forgotten along the way that is now gradually surfacing is the overwhelm that we felt with COVID, the overwhelm that we feel with too much news, too much new news all the time. We are now feeling it with this new iteration of, I wonder what this can do. And the byproduct, the first casualties are the people on the front lines who don't have the equipment, don't have the training, don't have the tools, and don't have the instructions focused on how they can handle all of it. It's all very well and fine to get an instruction manual for something over there, but the people over here are being forgotten in the shiny squirrel rush. And this is our looming moment of opportunity for all of us. Everything about Pivotry in motion, everything about the lion effect, everything that I have talked about for 6 years now, 7 years now, is that we do it together. We are together in this. Every way we learn everything is by mirroring the one who teaches us. It is show and tell in the valley. Always has been. When we are shown repeatedly and invited to try, each time there's a little boop, there's a little spot of, remember this, it's a little green flag. It's a little green flag every time, every time, every time. Eventually, when we do it often enough, think of the day you learned to drive. Think of the day you figured out how to do 3 things at the same time in the kitchen, as opposed to the first time when you stood there with a frying pan and a spatula, wondering who was going to pick up the bowl of eggs. Once you figured out your process, once you figured out your strategy, once you practiced it, you can not only do that, you can do 2 other things. Why? Because this survival brain is taking care of the mundane repetition. We learn from people who show us how. Even when we watch a video on one of the platforms, it is someone demonstrating it to us. We are vicariously there, learning, observing, understanding, and then mirroring what they do while they explain it to us. When we are learning in a work environment, when we're learning in a life environment, and we are strangers in a strange land, we need, more than we realize, we need that those touchstones of familiar. We need our lucky penny, our favorite pillow, our favorite print on the wall, our favorite treat in the fridge to make strange and new feel safe and normal. We are tribal. And I was saying the other day, I was not taught by giraffes how to get leaves off the trees. I was taught by my dad how to get back in a sailboat after I fell out when the wind stopped. It might have been the shark in the water that taught me to swim faster, but it was my dad who taught me to swim in the first place. What that gives us is a completely, we didn't notice that it is the people. Well, good morning, Miss Kim. Thank you. What we didn't notice, what we don't notice, because it's familiar, is that the person we are closest to by proximity, by age, by location, by family, by tribe, by community, the person we are the closest to is the person we emulate, the person we trust, the person we lean into, the person we rely on. Because people like us is how we are wired. People like us do things like this. People like us remind us who we are. People like us ground us. You know, my dear, sweet, talented, brilliant friend Billy Nave produced a documentary film on the 17th of March after you would not believe how short a frantic time it was. That is an expose on everything that went wrong behind the scenes that you can't do that on television. The world's singularly most popular, powerful, influential, fabulous children's television series ever. And the only thing that went wrong, the only teensy-weensy mistake, was that at some point during our trajectory of greatness, somebody decided not to pay us. There you go. Let's not pay children. Let's just rake in the cash. And so Billy working, he's sort of our historian now, Billy working with our brilliant, brilliant creator, Roger Price, and all of the team, all of the people still alive and well and caring about the correctness, the proper way of doing things that are great. He has been working with us, collaborating with us, putting it together. He launched the first salvo on the 17th because it was the day that slime turned green. And he had a tech glitch that almost drove him crazy. And he reached out and later on and he said, thank you. Like I'm helpful with a tech glitch? No, I was the voice on the other end of the phone for him to just talk nonstop to gradually get himself to wind back down, to go back and figure out the fix. And he says, thank you for grounding my brain yesterday. And I said, my pleasure. Nice little message last night, because he has grounded mine. And when we think of, over time, the people we have reached out to, and we have said through locked jaws and clenched teeth, got a minute? And the people who love us hear everything inside that phrase and say, absolutely. And then we feel, even before we have divested ourselves of all that we carried, we feel safe. Why? We feel safe because someone we know knows us. Someone we care about cares about us. Someone sees our place in the world and cherishes it with us. And it is that glue, it is that sanctuary space that is the reason it is not good to self-isolate. For times, for a while, yes. I mean, I'm a solitary worker. I can go, this will surprise you, I can go days without speaking. I know, right? I can go days without leaving my space because I'm working. Billy knows this. Kim knows this. Maggie is learning this now that she's juggling 2 new flaming chainsaws. When we are doers of many things, we cherry pick the time we spend that is social. We have to remind ourselves to also prioritize the time we spend that is essential to recharge, refuel, reset, refocus our innate humanity, our connectedness to each other. Now, I'm talking about this in this way for a very, very serious reason. It's not merely that I'm leading up to explaining to you that in birthday months, presents are happily received when they are given. It's not a commercial, although I just plugged it. It is because in this rush to AI, people are forgetting that if you just put a human alone with a machine, even if the machine can replicate, everyone is forgetting the machine is not us, and we are not the machine. And we always need to connect with our usness, always, to feel intrinsically safe. You know, you see these stories. Mowgli, the beautiful film that was off the book about the little boy abandoned in the jungle who was raised by the jungle creatures, right? And Tarzan, who in the original story was the survivor of an accident and grows up in the jungle and is discovered and brought back to civilization, much to his confusion and horror. And by the way, the look on his feet when they put shoes on him for the first time. Every woman who has ever worn those kinds of shoes to that kind of event winced and said, I'm with you. I'm with you, Jungle Boy. I get it. When Tarzan arrived in civilization and people said, welcome home, he didn't feel like he was home. He felt like he was away from home because the only home he'd ever known was where he had been. The only home we know is our human home. Even when we're using technology like this to have conversations, I am talking to you. I'm talking to you, Kim. I'm talking to you, Maggie. I'm talking to Freddie, and I'm talking to Eddie, and I'm talking to Rhea, and I'm talking to Kelly, and I'm talking to Charles, and I'm talking to everybody who chimes in. My beautiful client, Susan, I'm talking to you because I know that at some point you're watching. And I know you said, oh gosh, I missed it this time. Fortunately, it's live. I can watch it later. And then I'm going to surprise you when you realize that I mentioned you. I am having this conversation with us, with thee and me, because there we are, Kelly. You see, on cue, I mention you, and here you are. This is such a great share of wisdom today. Kim, well, aren't you fabulous? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all shapes and sizes, in case you didn't know, Kim, who is on the other side of show business from me, she's down in the great land of film and television, is producing her own series, and it's pretty awesome. And she's done all the scut work. She's done all the go find the ants to go get all the grains of rice out of the barn and put it together. And in the meantime, juggling this and that and the other thing because, oh, by the way, what else was I doing? Oh, wait, that's right. I haven't gone to a live theater class in a while. Maybe I'll do that too. And oops, I need a new photo shoot. So that Miss Kim has decided to take some time for this today. We from Canada salute you. We are not worthy. We are not worthy. The most important thing to remember is We are not alone. Even if we're all alone, all by ourselves, if we're all by ourselves in a room, it means geographically we are all by ourselves in a room. I'm in an apartment building. I can walk 3 feet outside my door and I got people. It's on the 15th floor. I'm on the 15th floor. There's 2 more floors above me. I can go anywhere and there's people. I'm isolating so I can get anything done. I walk outside. You know what they've got? People. We got tons of them. What we're looking for is the people like us. What we're looking for is that sense of locator, that sense of we are here, that sense of people like us. So the conversation about AI that is currently looming large is a new term, which I already have the correction for, the fix for, the Band-Aid for, I get it for. It's called AI brain fry. And what is happening is that increasingly there is pressure being put on human engineers to spend more time and more time and more time focusing on how to adapt to AI, how to work with AI, how to make sure AI is happy. And, I got to tell you, if somebody says, oh, thank God you're here, the most important person in the room is over there, please go look after them, I'm ready to leave now, because that was a short shrift. If I'm important and you needed me, oh, wait, no, you just needed a handmaiden and I was the first one through the door? No, I don't think so. However, jobs are on the line. Careers are on the line. Livelihoods are on the line. Survival is on the line. So people are compromising their principles. And every time we do, it's like taking a fresh bite of a rotten egg. It smells worse than it is. I don't care. And there is no one commiserating. There was no one saying, I get it. And there is no one showing them how to navigate it. That's because I haven't told them yet. However, it's on the list. And it's getting pushed from third to first. Because the other things that I thought were more important, suddenly I'm seeing a difference. So it's not easy. It's not easy, yes. I've just been saying all these things about Kim, and she's sitting there shaking her head and laughing. The woman, how does she know? How does she know? We haven't actually met. We haven't actually really spoken in real time. But I have a very, very strong suspicion that somewhere in Miss Kim's DNA, there's going to be Viking. I kind of got a feeling. Yeah. She's saying, amen, the people like us is the key. Here's the tragedy within that nugget of gold. By the way, I'm gonna pause that for a second. Kim, I have a theory about the nugget of gold in story. The nugget of gold is no matter what the fiction, as long as there is one nugget of truth, it's solid. You just need the nugget, and then it radiates out. So the nugget in people like us is this. All people are us. We are all people. There are no true distinctions. There are artificial distinctions. If you speak this language, you must have lived there or been there or knew people there as opposed to here. If you dress in that outfit that appears to be a costume, ditto. If you attend these celebrations instead of those, ditto. You must be them. You must be other. You must be something that is not us. You must be, therefore, shoved aside. I had the most wonderful conversation with a doctor who was about to do brain surgery on someone close to me. And I said, how do you put everything aside and simply live in that space with no distractions? And he said, oh, I think you know. I think you know. But in case you were going to tell anybody, it's called the zone. And I blinked, because in the number of visits he'd made to the specific space in the hospital where I was visiting, he had shared his background and I had shared mine. And he said, you can't leave your life behind and walk out in front of a room full of people without passing through and into the zone. You cannot be in two places at the same time. And so whatever is required of you, expected of you, needed from you, becomes where you go. And you get there in the zone. And when you're done, you come back through the zone to the place you were before and the place you're going to be. The zone is the ring around us that keeps us. The zone is our sanctuary. Pretty wise guy. Also, successful surgery. The side story with that doctor, he said, so this is the process, this is a procedure, and I will call you when it's done at 1:00. And I said, doctor, do you have any idea how many men have told me they're going to call me? and he's there, and his assistant is there, and another person is there, and then there's a couple other people in the room. There was this completely stunned silence, and everybody laughed. And I said, give me something to go with. And he said, I'm the one who calls. And then when he did call, and I said, hello, he said, it's that guy who calls calling. That is people like us. That was people like me. And where we are in this moment with all of the fractionalized news and reporting and territorial imperativing and scared and shivering and frantic flailing and wondering why no one brought the bailing bucket, we forget that we are all in the boat. Yes, some of us are in this boat, and some of us are in that boat. I'm talking about the bigger boat. We're all in it. We're all in the big boat. And if we would like to get to Fashion Week before it's over, we all have to row. That's how it works. My Viking ancestors told me so, and they invented it. So what I want to share today is that today is the end of winter. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the sun of York. Now, today, can be the last day of our winter of discontent. You see how important it is? It can be the last day of our winter of discontent. If we grow a pair and choose it, if we show them up, if we stop saying, oh, poor me, and then you know what they did? You know what they did? We don't care because they did it to us too. Let's make a sandwich. Could we? Let's live. Simple. Choose life. And life is here. Life is here. And in a minute from now, the next minute of life is here. It's here. We're here. Thee and me, we're here in the big boat, wondering what to do with the oar, rather than boofing each other with it. Although I know there are times I am tempted to. I mean, I'm the one. Can you see it? I have Thor's hammer behind me. See, on the shelf? I am so tempted. I also have a listening brick over here, which I use on clients when they're not listening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all shapes and sizes, we're in the boat. Did you want to reach shore? Then we row. People like us are all the people. We are not weapons of mass construction, although we know how to use them. We are not communication devices, although some of us know how to use them, and some of us are still wondering how to open the box that has the instruction booklet in it. We are not the thing that carries currency, although we spend it. We are human beings. And by the way, lest anyone forget, we invented technology. We invented the wheel. Did we have help? Maybe. But I don't see any images carved on cave walls of any creature from some different civilization holding a tool. I don't see them helping. I see us trying to figure it out. Did we have assistance? Great. Did we do the heavy lifting? Yes. Did we figure out how to carry fire without burning everything? Not right away. Talk about generational trauma. Have you ever burned your fingers on something? It doesn't feel like a brand new sensation, does it? No, it feels historic, doesn't it? It's like you remember that time in the cave when you went, oh, with no words, oh, right? We are in this together. All this stuff. AI is, in my vocabulary, in my lexicon, in my storage, it is in the category of this too shall pass. As did the horror of the printing press, as did the horror of the steam engine, as did the horror of the telephone and the telegraph, as did the smug look on the face of the CEO who won the race for the first mobile phone and got in his car and drove to the building where the CEO of the competition had his office, got out of the car and called him and said, hey, how you doing? Guess where I am? Look out your window. And for the first time in man's history, somebody yelled obscenities down a phone line. This is a chapter. And when you see a chapter ending, you know what's next? The next chapter. Today is the last day of the winter of our discontent of 2026. Tomorrow, whether it's snowing or not, nice joke, Mother Nature, whether it's snowing or not, it is the first day of spring. Whether you buy into it or not, it is the first day of the Aries time of 2026. We may be impulsive, we may be stubborn, but we are so adorably annoying. You gotta give us that. And come the 1st of April, birthday month. And I have so many fun things to share for birthday month, as always. As, however, I am standing and looking at the end of the winter of our discontent of 2026, I am counting my blessings because the most extraordinary gifts have been brought to me this past year. And I am blessed. And I'm carrying them with me because I'm no fool. Whether they're ready or not, they're in my little boat and we're on the way. So I'm going to leave you with this today. I need to give you, just before I go, I need to give you a tool to help you trigger what I've been saying today. You took a bike ride for 2 hours. Kim, congratulations. It wasn't snowing yesterday here. There was still slush on the ground. I was out in it. So vicariously, I was sharing your, let's do this. Here's the simple hack, the simple win. Name one thing. Get a Post-it note. Name one thing big that has happened in this past year. You can name as many as you like, but you only need one. Name one thing big that you can say, amazing. Write it down. And underneath it, that was then. Underneath, this is now. Because it never dies, it never goes away. What has happened that was amazing has become part of the woven fabric of the tapestry that is who we are. We are, according to our DNA, unique. We are like snowflakes, unique. We bring similarities. We bring generations of memory, whether it's generational trauma or not. We bring learned behavior that we acquired by mirroring people like us. That we feel safe, that we feel sanctuary, that we feel secure is something we work on every day. We achieve it by reaching out to the people who understand why it matters and are always there. Even if they can't answer the text, they can't answer the phone, they don't answer the message. If you focus on them and you say, I hope you're listening. I'm intending that you're listening. There is that feeling that it's shared. It's not the whole molecule thing. It's not the drop in the ocean thing. We are people like us. We've survived everything. Every day. There's no reason why we won't do it again. Nothing is our enemy unless we choose it. Nothing is to fear unless we choose it. Everything is to gain when we choose it. Everything is to win, to grow, to prosper, to thrive when we choose it. And if at any time you need to know more about this, you can find me. You know where I am. And I will be so happy to connect and figure out how we can collaborate, communicate, transform, and engage. All right? So when I see you on the other side, it'll be spring already. So until then, I want you to be good to you. I want you to remember to hug your loved ones, because we are all people like us and we deserve it. God damn it, we deserve it. And thank you for watching, and thank you for telling your friends, and thank you for deciding that this is worth your time. And Ms. Kim, that you've invested your time in this with me. It is an extraordinary, extraordinary honor, knowing how busy you are. And I would say I'm not worthy, but you know what? Sure I am. I'm a Viking. Okay, remember what I said. Be good to you and hug your loved ones. And after that, I'll catch you next time.